The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And Dave.
Hey.
And I forgot my laptop, so I don't have any show notes in front of me. So I'm going to be flying somewhat blind. I can look at Dave's, but we'll see what happens.
We can buddy up. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I always hated that. Not to go on a tangent, but I always hated that in elementary school and high school and stuff like that. Where you're like, oh, find a partner and buddy up, do this. I just hated that. I'm not a very good teamwork person. Sometimes
not a good two-headed giant partner.
The logic, you do realize the logic there doesn't follow though, right? I wasn't really good with that. Well, they were trying to teach you the skill that sometimes you may have to work with people, so maybe you should just shut up and did it.
I'm better at it now, obviously, but
it's from all the years of people making you do it.
Probably.
So why are you complaining about it?
I just didn't like it.
Apologize to all of your teachers.
No, they don't listen to this.
I'm just saying in general.
I'm sorry, all of my teachers.
There you go.
I never gave them guff about it. I was like, this is bull stuff.
I don't believe you. I feel like you were sitting in the back.
Almost screwed up there.
I feel like you were sitting in the back with your leather jacket, collar pop, smoking a cigarette.
You have known me long enough to know that, no.
He probably was smoking
a cigarette, though.
No, I didn't start smoking until I was 18 and quit when I was 25, so I fit with my plan. I pull off my plan of wanting to smoke, and it turned out according to plan. I still probably should have never done it. Kids don't smoke. It's bad for you.
It was the coolest time in your life.
Because you wanted to be able to legally buy cigarettes?
Correct. Yeah, I never wanted anyone to ever have to buy me cigarettes because I think that's a real chump move. Again, kids don't smoke. It's not cool.
I like how the reasoning is I don't want people to buy me cigarettes. Not one, it's illegal. Two, it's bad for you. No, I just want to be some kind of poser who's like, hey man, let me get a cig.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. But hey, enough of that tangent. We're back here for another couple weeks before we get hit with the holidays again. So we definitely want to cover some sweet new community stuff that happened, as well as the open that happened over the weekend and all that jazz. So let's go ahead and dive into the community topics.
Splash.
So we have some more oath cards that were apparently revealed. And the first one that we have is a legendary creature that is rare, correct? Yeah, rare.
Rare, yes.
It is Ayl, Ayl, or Li. We're not sure. We can't actually see the front of the card. Our Ally.
Mythic Sport doesn't have it listed as Ayli, just so you know.
Right, whatever. Blank, Eternal Pilgrim, which is, from what we can see, white-black for a legendary core cleric with Death Touch, and it has pay 1, sacrifice another creature. You gain life equal to that sacrificed creature's toughness. And then 1 white-black, sacrifice a creature, exile target non-land permanent, activate this ability only if you have at least 10 more life than your starting life total. And it is a 2/3. So on its surface, if it costs what it is, showing right here, which is white-black, it is a fairly powerful card.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that all the cards we're going to talk about here, people have had a really hard time debunking. Most of the time when we get early cards like that, people are really good at pointing out, the numbers don't make sense, that artwork's been used before, et cetera, et cetera. So, this one has been out there long enough that I'm pretty certain that this is a card.
Right. And again, people have pointed out, it's hard for them to really fake a stamped, promo card. That would be an excessive amount of work to do for very little gain. It would eventually break out down to. So we're pretty confident this is a real card that will be in the set.
I just want to know what the name is. The scan that they have, the glare is right over the first part of the name. So we don't know if it's Ayli or Ayil,
whatever. Something anyway. I'm gonna have a hard time saying until I'm gonna have to, over the weekend. They asked what are cards you have a different over last week. They asked what cards would you like to know how to pronounce. So this would actually be one of them, but we don't know how to say it, and they wouldn't tell us anyway.
I'm sure.
And isn't flavorfully this supposed to be one of the core that Jace runs into in the Uncharted Realms story?
Yeah,
I think so. I think that's what this is supposed to be, or inferring one of Ulamog's religious acolytes or something like that.
Whenever you have a giant Eldrazi monsters, you also have cultists. Like it's sort of that is the lore that has been passed down from Lovecraft onto us. So that makes some sense. This card has apparently caused like a bunch of like all foil Edgewalkers like disappeared from the internet, which was hilarious. Edgewalker from Scourge was a white, black, and colorless for a 2/2 cleric. All clerics you control or all cleric cast spells you would cast cost a black and a white less.
Yeah, so
she's free. Hey, EDH man, you find. Cleric EDH finally got its general.
There you go.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah, my first thought when I saw this card was like, oh, cool. Abzan gets another 2-drop. Great. But I actually think this goes better in a Mardu style of deck. I mean, it is important to note that both of the effects on this say sacrifice another creature, so it can't sack itself, which is it's an important distinction to make. But, I mean, in Mardu, you also have things like Butcher the Horde that give you a sack outlet. So, playing Mardu-style tokens, might get a little boost from this card.
I can go back and forth on this card. The card is obviously powerful, and the body itself makes it playable. But honestly, like it definitely it doesn't win the game by itself.
No,
it does nothing that is overtly like scary. Like okay, you can gain some life, but the cost, like the legitimate cost of a creature. And when we're talking about like a tokens deck, like the things that you're sacking then in that list.
Be like 1/1s,
and paying a mana to sack is a really steep cost,
right?
Especially when you have access to Husk or Butcher the Horde.
Yeah, that was the other distinction I was going to make. Like the fact that you have to pay mana to sacrifice creatures make it not as desirable in something like a rally deck, for example, where you could kind of just go off, with a Husk because it doesn't cost any mana,
right?
So. I think it's more of a role player type card. I mean, being a 2-mana 2/3 Death Touch is actually pretty good. I mean, Heir of the Wilds is starting to see more and more play in the format now, just because it can attack into rhinos and things like that. So, I do expect this card to see some play, and it's definitely pretty cool. I don't think it's overly powerful or anything like that, but I do like it.
Yeah.
I will say there are, at least for a little while on Standard, there are a ton of enablers if you really want to activate this ability. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could play this in the deck with Shambling Vents, Siege Rhino, Master the Unseen, Sorin. Like, if you want to, or heck, even Butcher the Horde, like, gains 5 in a chunk. So, if you really want to build a deck that can abuse this ability, it probably can be done. I don't know automatically how good that is, but... it being a legend sort of restricts it. So it's a very powerful card, but again, I agree with you. It doesn't seem like more than a role player to me.
Yeah, you got to jump through hoops to activate that second ability, like the utter end effect.
Hey, Felidar Sovereign's in the format too, man.
It stole my point. I was going to make that.
Mike, I know you'll appreciate this, though. on Mythic Spoiler, if you pull up the card, like on the thesaurus, it says Chalice of Life is one of the cards that are similar.
So for those who don't know, I played Chalice of Life in Standard for a while, and it was really, really fun and actually not bad. Now, to be fair, I got to play it in essentially just a blue-white control shell that had Gideon still, like Gideon Jura. So the deck itself was actually good. That card just happened to be in it. But I do have 9 foil copies of the card. It's one of my favorite cards of all time. So I guess I got to get some Aileas to go with them, or Aiels, or I don't know, Layla, whatever it is.
Alleles, I think that's a DNA thing. I don't know.
Yeah, is she like dominant or recessive? I don't know.
Anyway, but we do have other cards. So next up is a card we have a loose translation of. It is a Russian card initially. It is Mina and Den, Wildborn. It is 2 red-green for a 4/4 legendary creature, elf ally. And it says you may play an additional land on your turns. It's pretty good. Everyone likes doing that. Play additional lands. Big fan of that. And then you can do pay red-green and return a land you control to its owner's hand, and then target creature gains trample until end of turn. Which is also good. And it's a 4/4. So
this... I don't know. This card doesn't really make any sense to me. It seems like it's like an intro packer.
That's what I feel about this card as well.
Yeah. Like, okay. You may play additional lands during each of your turns. I mean, we've seen this before. Things like Oracle of Moldiah. That was a card that immediately popped into my head. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But like that one will let you play cards off the top of your deck. This is just like
Sure.
just play an extra land. And sure, it has an ability that lets you, abuse that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like just giving things trample is really worth it. Like, I don't know. I guess it could give itself trample, but 4/4 for 4 isn't even impressive anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. This card is really in weird space. Like, it's not what you want to be playing if you're actually playing ramp. Because
Right, yeah, like you don't want like a 4, like if it was like a 2 mana, or that probably would be way too good, but like a 3 mana defensive creature, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, but that doesn't make sense either because landfall is aggressive, and like the landfall deck that currently exists, I don't think wants. It doesn't want a 4-drop, and definitely doesn't want this card. Now, maybe they print more spell lands in this set. Maybe there's something that's a little more attractive to actually bounce that has an effect that's worthwhile. I mean, just like playing off the top of my head, like I guess bounce my first strike land. Like, play it again, bounce it again, play it again. Now I have the 6/6 first strike trample attack. You know what I mean? So there are some cute things you can do with it. Whether or not that's good, and based on the current standard format, it probably isn't. But I guess it's one to keep in the back of your mind. Like, I don't think it's going to break anything, but whenever you have an enabler like that sitting in standard, maybe just like, put it in the back, and then maybe they print something that makes it gross.
Right. Yeah, like that. The only thing that would come to mind where we could apply this in current standard would be obviously the landfall deck, but that deck is so close to a Tarka Red, it doesn't want this card, and if it does, then you already have a 4-drop that deck actually wants, which is like the Thunderbreak Region. You want something that makes the deck a little bit different, has like a fly, gives you a flying attacker out of the sideboard or something like that, rather than having this something that is still on the ground and doesn't make the deck more dynamic.
Yeah, Mike, you mentioned like put this, like keep this in the back of your mind, keep it on the back burner. This is a card that like maybe will be better once Drino rotates out and once the fetch lands rotate out, and you don't have the automatic double landfalls built into the fetch lands. Like, this is something that maybe somewhere down the line, if
Yeah.
as
As it stands right now, in my mind, I agree. Like, Thunderbreak Region is the 4-drop you probably want first. P and Karen Nalaar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That'll still be around, too.
And Outpost Siege. Like, right now, at least. I mean, like, so yeah, it's definitely back on the list, but maybe.
Yeah,
people will like it. It's also an elf, so
yeah,
people like that.
will like being able. People like cards that say play, and you may play an additional land. People just like that, so it'll be like. I think it at least be like have a good casual appeal, especially since it's legendary too. So
it's an ally.
Yeah, it's an elf ally,
and it's an ally too. And then lastly, we have something that is very, very interesting for sure. Again, these are all spoilers. They're all somewhat unconfirmed until, we eventually get actual spoilers. But we have an expedition land that has been spoiled, which is Mystic Gate, which would imply that if this is true, all the other filter lands would also be seeing expedition reprints. If you don't know what Mystic Gate does, it taps for a colorless, or you could pay a white or blue and tap it to add white, blue, or blue to your mana pool. So these lands are certainly seen a lot of play in Modern. So they are around, some of them are around $20 to $30 a lot of the time.
A lot of play is a strong word. Most of them are one-ofs, but it's
one of
they've only been printed that one time outside
Correct.
of what? Karen or whatever.
Graven
the black red
Karns was
Graven
in
Karen, yeah.
Times, or was in
Future Sight.
Yeah. But yeah, they are pretty expensive, and you're right. They really don't see a ton of play.
Like,
you might see like one Cascade Bluffs and like Twan.
Escape plays like a Flooded Grove.
Yeah. I guess the other interesting thing that we see on the card is that we see tap add the diamond shape for colorless, which would represent that the shape is to represent a pure colorless mana. So it's interesting to see. We don't really know what implications this would have, but we were talking about it before the cast. We kind of decided that it makes sense. I think that it makes sense for the expeditions to have this, and then maybe just this, and not necessarily have it throughout. But
it's hard to tell if that's going to be indicative of how they do colorless lands from now on. But some things that are in this card's favor. No one's been able to find this art anywhere else, and it does look like it's depicting Seagate. With the lighthouse in the background. Numbers wise, it is the first alpha, or what is it? They said it matches where it would be if it's like 20, whatever it is. Like, it should match where it's at numbers wise. And it is difficult. Like, the actual scan of it definitely shows that it's a different foiling process than the regular rare, and that's not easy to just mimic off of a printer. So, just things that make it interesting.
Yeah, my initial thought when I saw this one was it looked fake to me, but maybe it's just the scan is kind of dark. Like, it's just not, like, good lighting, I guess.
It's definitely fuzzy.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't know. And then the colorless symbol being on there, we still don't really know a whole lot about that, how they're going to do that. So it's possible that, moving forward, anything that taps for colorless will now tap for, a diamond or whatever. But I don't know. I almost don't want to believe it because, like, I don't know. I'm kind of a purist. Like, I like the old school. Like, I'd rather just keep the mana how it is, but whatever.
Soul Man Dave not wanting to change.
Get off my lawn with your Mystic Gates.
Yeah. No, Mike, you had mentioned something that Worth was talking about on Twitter.
Oh, I did.
Oh, okay.
Someone has pointed out to Worth on Twitter or just in general, yelling into the void that is the internet, that a scrying sheets on MTGO is bugged. It costs a different amount than it should to activate the snow ability on it. And then Worth replied back to that and says, "Oh, well, there's going to be something on MTGO, a big revision to the mana system that fixes that and fixes things like Cavern of Souls and Workshop, I think he said, or something like that." So it's like, oh, so there's going to be this big mana change on MTGO.
And you mentioned a bunch of colorless lands.
Oh, that's weird. That also is pretty indicative of wastes being a thing and then changing, how colorless is represented. Pure colorless is represented.
Yeah, when you said that, I was just like, oh, huh, okay, well maybe this is where it's going. That made me think it's more real, but who knows? We don't 100% know yet.
No, not at all. So we'll see what comes of it. But it's kind of exciting to get these little snippets of pre-spoilers before.
Yeah, I'm sure Wizards is thrilled.
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. I mean, there's total conspiracy theorists out there that are like, oh, Wizards does this on purpose. Wizards, to be fair, there had been like missorts into packs of cards in future sets, and it's like, is that really a missort, or is it just to like spike interest? I mean, I think the one like the most one that I can think of that people are like, I don't know if this is true, is when like Evolving Wilds was like found outside of a comic store like battered, and it was like from Battle for Zendikar, and that was the actual art and the actual card that got released. But it's just like, oh, it's interesting how some of those things just kind of happen and leak to the surface, and like people don't even believe them necessarily initially. But they are true.
That looks super fake to me too. I was like, that's not real. It was
completely accurately the exact Evolving Wilds that's in that set.
Yeah.
So I think Wizards does this. I think they do it slightly to get us hyped. Like, it isn't like New Phyrexia where the whole God book gets released or anything like that. These are bits of cards here and there. Now maybe like the Kozilek and the Waste is probably not them. I feel like, because that's something that would be foolish of them to really release. That seems like the big hit of this set. But I feel like some of the smaller stuff is stuff they put into packs accidentally and shows up, or it could just be completely by accident.
I have a feeling that we'll know fairly soon if Kozilek is real or not, because normally like Christmas they give us like one huge spoiler for a set, so that would be my guess, is when they come down and confirm that. Like don't even explain what Waste is or anything, just be like, oh, by the way, this is real. Like we're out, see ya after we get back from the holidays.
Did they do that? Wasn't Damnation like the first one that they did like that?
I think
was it on
so?
Christmas?
It was really close.
It's like when you went to the Wizards website, it just showed like a Wrath of God, and then it just changed into Damnation. I was like, oh.
I know when War of the Gods, they did Kiora on Christmas.
Right.
Was one of the ones I remember most recently. I can't remember any of the other ones were though, but might have been the last one. I don't know. I can't remember, but I just remember Kiora because I like that art.
I'm thinking correctly. It might have been Sorin a couple years ago, too.
Maybe.
Lord of Innistrad might have been that card. I don't remember. But yeah, so and we might get some information on it, but these cards may or may not exist.
Yeah, with all of the pre-spoilers we talk about, take everything with a grain of salt. Moving on, we also heard word of a Innistrad art book that's going to be coming out in the summer, which I am so stoked about because Innistrad has awesome art. I really enjoy the motif that they have that plane set in, and Innistrad being one of my most memorable sets. That it was the first release that I really got to take a large active part in. It's very awesome, and I'm very excited, and I can't wait to get this art book when it actually comes out in the summer. Around the time that we're getting around the time that we are returning to Innistrad, as it were. So yeah, pretty jazzed. It'll be sweet. I'm gonna buy it.
We still have the Zendikar art book coming out next month.
Yep, in January. Very, very true. I imagine that there's going to be a lot of people in our community that are going to be getting some late Christmas presents due to that fact. So
it feels weird to say that. It's like, oh, next month it's January.
Yeah,
2016.
2016.
Winding it down here.
Yeah. Speaking of 2016, right? Is that what we're moving into next? Yeah.
That is the next year we're moving into.
Well, no, the next topic on our community list it will be in 2016. It's going to be the new GP promo.
Oh, that makes more sense because the other thing made you sound dumb.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to make sure that we could have a transition, and we did. Because we're going to talk about the GP promo,
but now you ruined it by talking about it too much.
Yeah, well, someone ruined it by interrupting me before I could even start.
Nah.
Anyway, next GP promo is going to be Stoneforge Mystic, which is really odd to kind of take a look at, and we're actually going to discuss a little bit more later on in the podcast, but just know that is going to be the promo that you get when you attend a GP in 2016.
I do want to say I don't like this art pretty much at all.
It does seem like super generic.
Yeah, like go look at Eiley or AOA. Like, oh look, another core with a weapon.
Yeah, here's a nondescript core with a weapon. I mean, the original art is better. It is more descriptive of what the card is.
I think it's really iconic too. Like I feel like the original Stoneforge art is super iconic and like quite literally paved the way for like Nahiri and this idea. So to take it back to I know they're trying to make these promo arts sort of generic for that reason. Like Snapcaster Mage is a good example of that. Of just like, what's the guy doing? He's like on the run and snap casting a spell. I get it, but at the same time, like I think some of these arts leave a little to be desired.
Well, it's not a legend, so it is kind of a generic core.
I mean,
right?
The original Stoneforge Mystic wasn't a legend either, but the idea of actually building a weapon, like of using lithomancy, I think it's a big deal, and I don't feel like this art does as good of a job depicting that construct.
Was she just like running away from something, or
who knows?
Anyway, but yeah, Stoneforge Mystic. I was surprised to see this one. To be honest with you,
we'll get to that. Right?
Yeah, we will get to it, and we'll discuss it a little bit more.
Yeah. Also, speaking of, GPs in 2016, there was a new article that was released today discussing video coverage for Magic tournaments in 2016. Basically, the gist of the article is that there will be less GPs, less coverage, video coverage overall, but it's going to be, more focused and more built out and better at telling player-driven storylines and things of that nature, which is interesting. I think Davey said that if it is, if GP coverage becomes similar, closer to Pro Tour coverage, like that's going to be great.
Yeah. So they had this the release today. It was Celine Bergeau wrote the article on the mothership, and I mean, like you said, so essentially they're cutting back the overall video coverage. So, as you know, in 2016, each GP weekend, if they have multiple GPs, they're all going to be the same format. Across different locations, but they're only going to have video coverage at one. I've just basically come to accept that the Wizards GP coverage just isn't that great. But having being able to choose between those weekends where you have an SCG Open and a European GP and an American GP and you can watch all of them is awesome to me. And I'm willing to take a hit in quality if I can. Sometimes I just want to watch Magic. I want to see what decks are doing well. I want to see good players play good decks.
Right.
So on the flip side here, they're trimming that back a little bit and supposedly, adding in some new segments, and they talked about potentially after the fact adding in some video highlights and things like that, which sounds cool, but they didn't really say anything specific on what actually is going to happen. So
it's like a little kid like with a drawing, like, and this is where the rocket booster goes, and this is where I don't know.
It's true.
So yeah, I don't really know. If they make it so that it's closer to like what we see at the Pro Tour, then I'll be happy with that, because I think the Pro Tour coverage is excellent, and I enjoy that. I could do without some of the commentators, but I guess they got some new people lined up for commentary as well. But they didn't announce who they were. So
there was a ton of people like asking for more diversity on Twitter, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I know which one is it? One of the hosts of Magic the Amateuring was doing coverage, was doing runner coverage and writing coverage for GP Wisconsin. So I wouldn't be surprised to see one of them get tapped for that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So the weird thing, the thing that strikes me odd here are the sort of gaps. Now, I understand that some of the gaps are also accounted for, like Star City GPs will still use their own coverage. Channel Fireball GPs will still use their own coverage, which is wrong. But there still seems like they're just like, okay, well, we could do a GP this weekend, but we're not. And it's just like, and a couple of them aren't decided. Hey, Grand Prix Columbus or Prague, who knows? Grand Prix Portland or Rimini, who knows? Like, what? How do you say you have a plan, but you don't really have a plan?
The way that this announcement came out, and I've seen enough corporate memos in my day to know what this looks like. It really reads as just kind of a spin on we're really cutting back on costs and we're cutting back on GP coverage, but wait until you see all this new cool stuff that's going to come out. It's totally going to be worth it. That remains to be seen, but it came out sounding like it's yeah, we're cutting back, but
okay,
we're totally making it cooler. So
we're starting the viewership points program. So every match you watch in a GP, you log into your Wizards account. You may have to make a phone call. Sometimes it won't work, but when you do, you give feedback about that match. We'll give you 3.5 points on your GP watching account. Once you get to 174 points, then you get free entry into F&M or a hat. Because we're about you, the players. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, this is exactly what that is. It's spinning a negative into a positive, and that's fine. I mean, you're going to have to do that if you are, a business. That's just going to have to happen, and it's not hard to see through that. And we kind of just have to wait and see how this actually looks. If it is improved, then I don't think the people will mind.
Yeah. I'm not mad at it because the Wizards coverage consistently gets murdered by Star City. If you look at the numbers, it's just Star City has 3 times as many people watching their stream. So even if it's the same format, it'll be a standard open versus a standard GP.
Right.
So
if it actually gets better, that's all in all what we want. So it's a quality over quantity thing, and that's fine. But if this happens and it doesn't really make any changes, then it's stupid, and you didn't do anything.
Yeah, I feel like we have promises from 2 companies right now, right? They're like, well, we're pulling back a little bit, but don't worry, it's getting better, because our city did the same thing, right? And it's just so what happens if you're both exactly the same? Cool, thanks. I still say there's room for another tournament organizer to step up and fill in these gaps that are starting to fill up. And the only other one that's even there runs miserable tournaments, so I don't even know.
Yeah.
I do think. I mean, you mentioned that, and I don't know even know if you talked about this, but I think Channel Fireball, since Star City is kind of cut back,
and won't be on the West Coast at all.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Star City is basically not basically, but they're not going to be on the West Coast at all. So I mean, I think that really opens the door for Channel Fireball to step up here, and if they wanted to do something like that, is definitely an opportunity for them to do something in the West Coast there. So,
man, and then we could literally have an East versus West Bowl. We could literally do it. Oh, come on, one time.
That's the dream. That would be great to have some kind of Channel Fireball versus Star City, invitational super match. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be cool. But
that would be pretty interesting. I don't know. I mean. It's just weird that we're having all these these cutbacks when it feels like Magic has been growing and growing and growing for the past past few years. Is this kind of the end of the golden age, as it were?
I don't know.
It's just a weird thing for them. I mean, these are obviously businesses that have people that forecast this sort of thing. Like they've probably been tracking things like attendance and interest in these competitive tournaments. Maybe it's a end of the golden age for the actual like tournament scene. I don't know. It just seems so weird for them to have like GPs that reach caps that we've experienced recently, and them to be like, yeah, we're just gonna have less, and that's fine.
The important thing, like, yeah, they cut back a couple GPs, but it's not like Wizards actually cut back their tournament slate that much. Like, they're gonna have written coverage for every GP still. So I don't think it's wrong for, like, if they really do go back and reassess this. I mentioned this before, like how, like, it's probably a good idea for them to rebrand, like. Certain GPs with their coverage, like a lot of European GPs, like some of them are okay, but a lot of them are shoddy. Like they do not look good. The camera work is shoddy. The commentators are okay, depending on who you get. And the same goes, for here. Like it just varies so wildly. So if they're actually going to take this as a chance to make a uniform, like strong production, and make like. Then that's where it's at. It's not like this indicates them running less. They already mentioned they're going to run a few less GPs. But as we looked at the calendar this year, like look at how like dead December is. But it actively makes sense because like they tried to run like that GP in Indy a few years ago and got like
seven snowstorm.
Yeah, like so that makes sense. So like, it's not the worst thing in the world. They cut back a few of them. But this means we're actually going to have like this strong team of broadcasting and this and that. That might be better for the brand. It might be. Let's see if they do it.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a wait and see sort of scenario. So that is everything for the community. Let's go ahead and move into competitive. So we have Star City Games that was in Denver, and then we also have the TCG 50K. So let's go ahead and discuss Star City Games first. It was a standard open, and it was taken down by, I'm going to butcher this poor man's name. We even rehearsed it before the show.
Vikram Kudva.
Okay, Vikram Kudva, playing Esper Tokens, if I'm not mistaken, defeating Tarka Red in the finals.
Esper Mentor. I don't think, like, because, like, if you think Esper Tokens, you're thinking of the deck that was playing, like, Night of the White Orchids and Dispels and
I mean, even they've started to get away from that. Some people have been playing Eldrazi Sky Spawner and stuff like that, but Monastery Mentor was popular tech for Kobe, right?
Right, it's true. But this is definitely that Mentor deck that was popular a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think, like, the real distinction in this list is Dragon Lord, Ojutai.
That was in the initial list as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, like, that's... No, not in the original Esper Tokens list.
Yeah.
No?
Yes.
Not in Ray Perez's list.
No, okay, no, I'm talking about Esper Mentor. This is Esper Mentor deck.
I'm talking about Esper Tokens.
And I'm telling you it's the Esper Mentor deck.
I know, that's what I'm saying. This is the distinction between the two lists.
But I'm telling you that this is labeled wrong.
It's Jason Gideon.
Correct.
All right.
I hate everybody.
Anyway, but that what I was trying to say is the presence of Ojutai is what separates the Mentor list from the Tokens list.
Is it? I mean, isn't Jace the other thing, though?
No, because
Were you running Jace in your...
Yeah.
You were?
The last one, the last version that I played was playing Jace's...
The one you played in the GP?
Not the GP.
Yeah, so
the one that I played in the the Comic Town tournament.
I know where I'm at.
The one I played in the Comic Town tournament had Jace's. Okay. But it had Eldrazi Sky Spawners.
Gross.
Yeah, that one. Probably not so much.
I feel like this is I guess maybe an evolution of it, but I do feel like this is a different archetype.
For sure. I don't disagree with you on that point.
Sorry, everybody. I know you don't like it when mom and dad fight.
Anyway, but this is running, things like a bunch of Gideons, and we also still see Nixilis and Sorin, but is changing to more support Monastery Mentor in the list, and make that a more profitable card to play. By playing things like Treasure Cruise, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, for the rest of the main.
That is a huge change.
And really the move away, like there's a dispel on the board, but really with Jace like moving into counter away from counter magic and into discard effects.
Yeah, just like how it's played in Modern.
Right.
I think an important part of this deck too is also the 4 Shambling event. So multiple times where those were just like unreal. And, and throughout the tournament, I think it came up a lot where basically whoever had more Shambling events, like it would just come down to you just trade a bunch of resources, you're drawing a bunch of cards, and you just get to this point in the game where you both kind of exhaust all your resources. Then whoever's left with the lands that do stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's been the evolution with Abs and Aggro as well. Is people started off with having 2 Shambling Vents, and then people realized like, oh, this is just a 4 of. So I think most any black-white X deck should have as many Shambling Vents as you can get away playing.
I mean, and honestly, like look at the removal suite of the removal package of this deck, and honestly, if you look at the removal package of like the Bring to Light deck with Jolosette, and even the other Abzan decks, they're playing Silk Wrap, they're playing Ultimate Price, they're playing Utter End. He's playing Ruinous Path. The only thing that can kill an opposing Shambling Vent are Murderous Cuts. And if you are saving your Murderous Cut for like a late game, like there's no way you can save your Murderous Cut for a late game Shambling Vent. So the rest of those things cannot kill a Shambling Vent. You have I guess if they magically activate it on your turn for some reason, maybe you can get them. But
also, theoretically, like Surge of Righteousness can do it, right?
It is true. Out of the board.
That's cute.
Probably not boarding it in.
No, but it is. I've seen it done, and it's funny.
Yeah, I really like this deck, and like watching. I wanted to point out because I watched a lot of coverage this weekend. I actually had a fairly lazy Sunday, and it was really enjoyable. And I really enjoyed watching this deck play, and I enjoyed watching him pilot the deck because they were sort of criticizing him a little bit on coverage for making like unorthodox plays, but like he beat a number of high-profile players, and not just beat them, like he crushed a couple people. Specifically, if you happen to be watching the match against him and Jolosette, where he lost game 1, and they were just like, yeah, I just don't know if there's a way he can beat this deck. And then with his sideboard and the way he played the game, systematically just dissected Lisette's deck. Like game 3, like Lisette literally didn't have win conditions left. He had almost nothing left as a way to win the game. Rhinos were obliterated. All 3 of his Jaces were gone, and he had no he could sit there and try to one for one certain things, but once Languish is gone, he doesn't have a good answer for Fermenter. It was really impressive to watch him just sort of systematically piece people out. Now, he said that he didn't have a very good matchup against Atarka Red, but he did manage to beat it in the finals, so good on him for that. But it was cool watching how the entire weekend, if you want to know where Standard is right now, the entire weekend is dominated by card drawing effects. Treasure Cruise, Painful Truths. Those 2 cards, okay, and Dig Through Time a little bit, but really those 2 cards are a bit sort of format defining. And this deck has a lot of ways to interact with that and stop that. Heck, you even saw Stratus Dancer against Lisette just come down and just blow them out, just oh my gosh. So
to reinforce the card drawing point. Tom Ross, who also top 8'd the event with the Target Red, definitely playing one of Vault Breaker in a sideboard.
Oh god, that card's so sweet.
I saw that, I was like, oh, okay.
I traded a foil Painful Truths last night for at 14. That's what I traded it away at. I was like, oh man, I just had 2 of them, and I'm just like, oh, somebody want to trade for this?
That's sweet.
Yeah, so that card is just because it's been deemed the answer in all formats, and it's really good.
Yeah. Lee Marino was the other person in the finals playing Atarka Red, and he had some interesting choices, main deck and sideboard, that we haven't seen in this sort of list. Definitely had 4 Slide Runner, McKinney Slide Runner. Well, Trample is pretty good when you're just trying to make things big and kill people. And then we also have 2 Pia and Kieran Nalaar in the sideboard. And if you're telling me that I can play that in my sideboard in my Atarka Red deck, I might just be tempted to do that. I don't know if it was necessarily good or not, but man, I want to do that now.
Pia and Kieran Nalaar is just...
You had the complete package. You had Chandra and Pia, you had the entire Nalaar family.
The whole family's on the sideboard, yeah. He definitely brought them all into the finals as well. He's like, oh, the Nalaars, get in here. Come on in.
Come on in. It's like Family Feud, and now introducing the Nalaar family. Which, if you do the numbers, right, Family Feud is 5-on-5. Chandra, her parents, 2 Thopter tokens.
I like how they don't have any more family. They're just 2 robots.
They're like, well, we need somebody to stand in.
Name one kind of food that people eat on Thanksgiving. Bzz, 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 bzz. Show me Buzz. I'm sorry, I may have gone too far down this line. And if you've never seen Family Feud, go watch Family Feud. I don't know what to tell you.
So, what other family would they play against in Family Feud? Has there been the Sengirs? You got grandmother Sengir, Baron Sengir.
I guess that's the closest thing we probably have.
That's so good. Man, can we just have So it's like Urza, Mishra, and a bunch of constructs. But Urza and Mishra stand on opposite ends.
Oh yeah,
they don't stand next to each
they're
other.
definitely the bookends, right? Yeah.
Oh, and Karn's on that team.
Yeah, he's in the middle.
He keeps the peace.
Guys, it's okay.
Well, what else do we have? Rounding out the top 8 here.
I was just going to mention that the best choice that Lee Marino made was playing the Arabian Nights Mountains.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I had to root for him just for that. I was just like,
P-Soul was really excited when he saw that.
I was like,
That is not a cheap route to take.
no, those are. Hold on, I have to look this up now to see how much those are.
Oh, by the way, from now on, how much?
Casual $60.
Yeah, if you build a Tarka Red and Standard, you now have to also buy those. So I know Standard is so expensive. Gotta buy Arabian Nights Mountains.
They're actually just better.
Yeah.
Like they're just better.
He's only playing 6. I do appreciate that on Star City. If you look at the deck list, if you just click Mountain, it automatically brings you to the Arabian Nights Mountain.
Oh yeah.
It's just right there. I go, well, I guess it's the first one on the list, but
yeah.
still, I appreciate that. But yeah, we had some big names in the top 8.
Joe Lacetta, as we already mentioned, playing 5-color Bring to Light, the week 1 special coming back for Vengeance.
Yeah.
Tom Ross playing a Tarka Red again, and his list was pretty stock except for the Vault Breaker in the sideboard. Mm-hmm. And anyone else?
Todd Anderson playing his patented Jeskai Black with no Mantis Riders.
Yep.
This is, I believe, his second top 8 with that list. And Logan Mize was really...
undefeated in the tournament.
Yeah, I was going to say he dominated the tournament until he got to the top 8. And unfortunately...
Wheels kind of fell off.
Unfortunately for him, he got bounced out in the quarterfinals. But he was playing Abzan aggro, and he definitely had an interesting sideboard card.
Let's pull it up and see.
So he had 4 Pitiless Hordes in his sideboard, which is pretty awesome against things like Silk Wrap.
Yeah.
And I guess really against any of the Esper style lists.
Do you think he told his opponents that he pitied the fool?
Possibly.
I would imagine you'd have to. Mm-hmm. If you're playing that card.
It tastes vomit in my mouth.
You're welcome.
No, yeah, I thought this was a pretty sweet tech, and like he was on camera a lot, so like every time it popped up, they were just like, it was almost like they were surprised again, like, oh yeah, he has these pitiless hordes in the sideboard. So yeah, I don't know how much most of the matchups I saw, I didn't see that card. Like there were a lot of matches where I saw he was boarding it in, but I mean. I do wonder, like, if it was just like disgusting in those Esper decks, or against those Esper decks, which just like, I mean, crack for 5, crack for 5,
yep.
Crack for 5, and never be down a card. Like that's like if they have the removal spell, then that's fine. You still get 1 for 1, but like every time they take 5, like you just have a card still in your hand, so like you're not like giving away a resource, which is really good. So.
Yeah, I mean, as an Esper Dragons player, that's definitely a card I don't want to see. Now, I haven't really updated my list because I haven't really played in a couple weeks, so I still have like the ultimate prices in my deck, which are good against this. But most of the lists have moved to Silk Wrap over ultimate price,
or like still having complete disregard, or even like a ruinous path or two,
right?
And just like this card, just like
oh,
and like you really just have to counter it. So, and the nice thing is that like once your opponent knows about this card, like it gets really really hard for them to like even tap out for Ojutai, because like and you're just like, okay, well I'm going to hit you for 5, and we're assuming that we've played an interactive game up until this point. So like, can you afford to tap out? You know what I mean? So it's pretty interesting.
Yep. And then another thing about this list is we had mentioned it earlier, but Air of the Wilds is a card that's picking up steam. He's playing 3 of those in this list. But other than that, nothing too crazy going on. We did mention the Shambling Vents, and he has the full 4 as well. So that's becoming just the standard now.
Oh yeah.
What else do we have here? So the rest of the top 8 was Zach Mandelblatt playing Jeskai Black, Paul Bradford playing 4-color Rally. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good to see 4-color Rally still hanging in there, being a competitive force. Not necessarily dominating the tournament like it was in the European GP, but
And you, actually, even this tournament, like, and I was just see where he finished. I don't know if it was in the top 32 or not.
Was it Matthew Tickle?
Yeah, but he even like was trying to push it even further. Like, get Bring to Light.
Oh yeah,
Like
just all the things.
So Bring to Light for like your combo piece, or Bring to Light for Collected Company, which is kind of sweet. So I thought that was interesting.
He finished in the top 32. He's 26th.
Okay.
It looks like he ditched the what was that card that he had last time? The 1/2 ally.
Oh
that
yeah,
drained?
the Calestra Healer.
Yeah, something like that.
He's not playing those anymore. Definitely playing Den Protectors. I believe that's a new one in this. So he definitely had a match against Jerry T, and Jerry T was playing. It was like an Abzan with red, I believe, and he just ground him out. Like he just straight up ground him out with just Den Protector, Collected Company, Jace, like
one
just
of the
all these
sweet
things.
things I got to see was like, so when he was like rallying, sometimes like he could do a small rally with Sidisi's Faithfuls and Den Protectors, and like bounce the Den Protectors
Yeah,
to his
pretty
hand.
Nice.
Oh.
Pretty nice.
Which was like really nifty. Just like, oh cool, like yeah, exploit trigger attack, return the Den Protector to your hand. It's like, oh, and now there's a rally at the so yeah, he had a lot of. I think that was like really the defining point of this entire like weekend. Every grindy deck, you had a Tarka Red, and that was it. Every other deck was so grindy, just wanted to draw cards, wanted to grind these games out, and like you notice, like if you look at the top 32, like Ramp is not here, so there's no one really going over the top of anybody. Esper Dragon's the deck that's going the biggest over the top. So when no one's going over the top, then it comes down to raw card advantage. It's one of the reasons Lisette did so well, because his deck post board was so much card advantage. It was hard, like if you didn't have a quick start or a way to keep aggression in, like he just fell apart.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that point. Like, I think that's why Joe Lisette was able to do so well. Like, if you like value, you're going to like Joe Lisette's list. Do we want to talk about this one a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, like, I don't know how this compares to, like, say, like the version that Jerry T played, because I know early on in the format he played something similar, or like a Bring to Light
that
list.
dissimilar. Like, obviously, the big deal, like the biggest deal, is like he's playing, like he has Infinite Obliteration now. And he has like multiple Painful Truths in the board. So like in post board, especially against decks like even like Abzan, he can just go through and try to start, because you saw him boarding in that card against like a couple of decks that were sort of like you wouldn't have thought Infinite Obliteration come in before. But he wants to be so grindy, he's just trying to remove things. Like, all right, I can't beat Ringware Rock right now. Get him out of here. Oh, flashback with Jace. Get this out of here. And just eventually, like you make your opponent's draws so dead, and you have so many cards that you're just going to win through that. So I thought that was interesting. I don't think there's anything too crazy in this list. I think it's really Painful Truths that is.
Oh yeah.
And obviously he's playing 4 Surge, because Atarka Red is not a good match for this deck. No. So he's got to try and do something.
Yeah, I mean, so the one-ofs that he's playing for the Bring to Light, he has one main deck Crackling Doom, one Kolaghan's Command, one Silumgar's Command. And then the other things that he probably would want to get to be 2 Languish or an Utter End. And he has a couple complete disregards. Other than that, it's got, Abzan Charms, Ring to Lights, Treasure Cruise, Jace.
Out of the board, he has an Anafenza as a one that he can go get for the rally matches.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I thought it was definitely interesting. I do think out of all the one-ofs in his deck, Silumgar's Command was the card that was consistently getting him out of like ridiculous board states. It's like, oh yeah, kill your Jace, kill your guy, and like it just bought him so much time. So
that's a really sweet one-off too. That's like the exact kind of card you want when you have a package like with Bring to Light.
For sure. The only other real thing I want to mention about this tournament, and if you even look at the day 2, are we done with this deck?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the day 2 metagame breakdown is that Jeskai Black was there in force. It was the third. Abzan Aggro was the highest day 2 at 16 decks. Tarka Red 14 decks. Jeskai Black with 12, and Jeskai Black put 2 back in the top 8. One with Todd Anderson's Mantis Riderless version, and then the other with on here. Make sure I have his name. Zach Mandelblatt's traditional variant with Mantis Riders and all the Crackling Dooms and everything else. And honestly, if you look throughout another one is in. On here is another just one. Yeah, another one is in the top 16. There's one in the 17th. So Jeskai Black coming back and putting up a good showing. And again, when the deck is all about value, especially you saw Todd Anderson's version where he ended up with Masteries post board. if you can just grind with people, that deck does a really good job with it. Ojutai's Command is king of grinding out matches. There you go, declaring royalty again.
Just you're all about it, man. Kings and queens everywhere.
So I just pulled up Zach Mandelblatt's list here. It actually isn't really a standard list, I would say. I mean, he's not running Soulfire Grandmaster, which is kind of a staple. Instead, he is running Secret of the Ways and a couple Monastery Mentors. And you just mentioned, card drawing. He has 3 Treasure Cruise on top of 2 Dictator Times of the main. So there you go. I mean, that's
very good with Monastery Mentor, from what I understand.
Yeah. And I feel like the Jeskai decks definitely fed on a lot of the Atarga Red decks too. If Atarga Red's going to be coming back, then Jeskai will be successful as well.
For Fiery Impulse.
I don't want to see that card. That's a bad day. That's a bad day for Atarga Red. So.
Because that's sort of the interesting counterpoint. Is like if people were like playing Infinite Painful Truths and starting to putting it in the main deck, like you definitely don't want to be the guy who has Painful Truths in hand when your opponent goes turn 1 Zergo. You're like, I'm just going to put this card over here. I'm never casting it. So, tap out Lightning Bolt myself. You won't kill me, right? No, promise you won't kill me this turn.
It's kind of an interesting sort of balance that we have kind of struck near the the tail end of this standard period, because there's not necessarily a whole lot of standard left to play out, at least in the large stage, I would say. Where we have Jeskai that feeds on Atarka, and Atarka that feeds on the grindy decks, and the grindy decks that kind of feed on each other, and all that jazz. So
I love this format. I really enjoy how grindy this is, and honestly, I know, Dave, you're gonna. It surprises me you would do that, because like the kind of decks that you enjoy and like I enjoy playing in Modern play like this. This feels like Modern a lot of the times, and not to mention the fact you're playing a lot of cards that are really good in Modern right now as well. But I feel like like these Jeskai matches, like especially like the mirrors, like tell me that isn't a lot like a post-board twin mirror. Like, you don't have the threat of the combo, but you're all just trying to get a little bit of value, a little bit of value, a little bit of value, so eventually you have turn the corner on your opponent. And I really enjoy those kind of games, because like decision lines, like look at Lisette, you know what I mean? He picked up a bunch of draws again this weekend because, that's the kind of deck you were playing. But, like, it's a deck about decision trees. And if you can outplay your opponent with it and always have, better selection, then you win. And I really do enjoy that kind of magic.
Yeah, I will say, you're correct in that there are a lot of decision points, and that a lot of the games are, decided on just tight play. Like, I did find it somewhat humorous that there were people on Twitter that were complaining about just how grindy how grindy everything is, and it's all about card draw, and it's all about card advantage, and the format having too many decisions in it. It's like, what? I don't understand. Like, that's like the point of playing Magic, right? Like, if it was just like you didn't have any decisions, then what fun would that be? Like, I don't understand this.
At one point, they said about Lisette's deck that Siege Rhino was the worst card in his deck. And think about that when you're talking about a format. Haven't we won then? Haven't we finally won when it's like, I guess I'll cast Siege Rhino. I wish I could do other things. Like, yeah. I don't know. I like this format a lot. I'm getting to play with a lot of cards I really enjoy. And I said, like, all the decisions are so important. Wait, what you do before your Jace, how you flip your Jace, what you're getting back with, these are all Jace-related things. But
we're not even mentioning the mana, because, like, sometimes, like, fetching out the right lands on turn 1 and 2
absolutely
just sets you up for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, that's everything. So
see, and I don't want to ever sound insulting, but there's a large number of players who complain about a format like that with all the decisions, who don't take the time to really like learn a deck and learn the nuances of a mana base, because you get so rewarded in this format and in Modern for understanding your mana base and knowing how to work it and knowing how to sequence your cards. I don't know how many times I sat behind one of these mics and said sequencing, but dear Lord, like if you are good at it and you can do it correctly, then you can win in this kind of format. But if you're like, well, I want it to be simpler, well, I'm sorry, there is a deck for you if you just want to play Mountains and Attack. But even that deck's decision tree is really difficult.
It's starting to pick up that deck. And by the way, I really enjoy this format just because I stopped trying to resist my natural tendencies and just I actually just need to attack people. I just need to kill people.
It's like a Doctor Strangelove thing, right?
Yeah, I just learned to love the bomb. So even that deck, I played a little bit of it at F&M, and like Mike has been like watching some of my games, and like I'm asking like, oh yeah, did this decision? Do you think it was like the right decision to make? Because like even that deck has multiple decisions.
Well, it's a combo deck.
Yeah, that you could make exactly. So it's definitely something that's not just as simple as people make it out to be, and especially watching, like, I didn't watch a whole lot of coverage, but I was watching Tom Ross play, and they were saying like, yeah, you make one mistake with the target red, you're just dead. That deck doesn't have the capabilities of catching up. If you get behind, like you're behind, and you can't. It's very, very hard for you to get back lost momentum. So it is one of the more punishing decks even to play if you make a wrong choice, because you don't have anything that's going to bail you out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's typically just how red decks are.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Or just aggressive decks a lot of time in general, like true, like hyper-aggressive decks, I guess you would say.
There are a few formats where that red is like really, really super good, and it just doesn't matter because it's just better than everything. But for the most part, like red is generally your cards are just much less powerful, and you just need to eke out every little bit of damage that you can get in, and it's important. So that's not really much different than what we've seen in the past from red. But yeah, I do agree. Like, I will say
Tarkus Command is a card that is probably on a much higher power level than red and standard normally gets.
Yeah, that is definitely that's the reason.
It's a good card.
It's a good Magic card.
That's the reason to play the deck. Yes.
So, but I don't know. I if you don't like this kind of grindy format, I'm sorry, but like I feel like when the format isn't this grindy, like you end up with like mono black control being the only deck that is that grindy, and like crushing the soul out of every other possible deck in the format. And like a bunch of decks are playing like main deck interaction, but like they're playing duress. It isn't Thoughtseize. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're not getting neutered. You can't not play your deck. So I really like it right now. Now it's a short format as well. So if this isn't your cup of tea, like we have one more major event, and then it will essentially be coming back from Christmas and looking into Oath. So if it isn't your format, don't worry, changes are coming.
Yeah, it's on the horizon for sure. All right, well, let's move on to the other big tournament.
I want to talk Modern for a minute.
Oh, okay.
I'm
sorry.
I saw it didn't get added to the show notes. I do want to mention the Modern 5K because I thought it was pretty interesting. So I can lead the charge on this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Won by Chris Anderson, who really has been grinding hard and dropped out of the stand. He was live for day 2 in the Standard Open, said, nah, I'm going to play this, wins it with Burn, which I can't imagine he'll be playing at the Invitational next weekend. So I do think it's interesting that, a lot of people obviously saying in the Standard Tournament to get points, but also, like, I don't know how much innovation you might be looking for, because if somebody's trying to unleash something spicy for next week, because I think with Jerry Thompson, like, top 16 as well, playing, like, Grixis Control. I don't know if they're playing spicy, like someone just hands Chris Anderson Burn, and disgustingly he wins the tournament. So, congrats to him. But I want to point out a couple decks. One of them top-aided, called Abzan Blink, and it's exactly what you might think it is. It is an Aether Vial, Abzan deck playing Cloud Shifts and Flicker Wisps. Things like Cartel Aristocrat, to sack your Tidehauler Sculler or to sack your Fiend Hunter when they exile things. Oh, and wait, what's this? It's another attack of the Wasteland Strangler.
Back again, guys. This time a different place, but we believe it to be the same culprit committing these crimes. We don't want to cause a panic, but he seems to be here in Modern.
He was last seen in Kobe, Japan, I believe, and now he seems to have
Standard Tournament.
He's made it to Denver.
Yeah, he's made his way to the States.
He might be shifting his typical MO, but we do believe that it is still him at large.
So, how's this for fun? Aether Vial in my Flicker Wisp. Exile your permanent, right? Because Flicker Wisp is non-land permanent, right?
Yes.
Okay, another target permanent. Another target permanent.
Oh yeah, you can exile lands.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then play the Wasteland Strangler to get rid of it permanently and kill your guy. If that isn't the sweetest interaction that anybody had happen over the weekend, I don't know what it is.
Strangler's good at what he does. That's why he's still at large.
He hasn't been caught yet. Yeah, I definitely Flicker Wisp people's bounce lands and cubes. So yeah.
Oh my god!
That's
and could you imagine Wasteland Strangling it too? Then just like, So if you look in the board too, he's got Stonecloaker. Stonecloaker.
Oh,
exile a card in your library or in your graveyard. Bounce my Wasteland Strangler.
Oh yeah.
Man, Blake Donnan, man, good on you. These are some sweet interactions, and not only did you bring this cool deck, you also took it into the top 8. I'm sorry that you're getting overshadowed by the Player Championship race, the Invitational. This is your shout out. This deck is sweet. Any deck that plays Cloud Shift makes me pretty happy. That's all I got.
Oh yeah.
Can I just point out one last interaction? You can definitely collected company into Flickerous Wasteland Strangler.
Sweet.
It's awesome.
Anyway.
Does that work?
I believe so. You just stack them, right?
Yeah, you.
No.
No,
no, because Wasteland Strangler has to target when it enters the battlefield, so the card already has to be in exile, so that doesn't work.
Man,
I'm sorry.
Like they won't already
Edit that
have
out.
something
Yeah,
exiled.
no.
Edit that out, Morgan.
Oh no, your mistakes stay, sir.
So the other one I have to mention, and we were specifically tweeted about this. I saw the name of the deck and I was like, okay, sure. I honestly assumed it was like the Ninja Bear Delver when I first saw it.
You're like,
Yeah,
it's more of a Dave thing.
so did
here.
I.
Mono Blue Delver, featuring a creature suite of 4 Delver Secrets, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
4 Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah.
2 Vanillion Click.
Of course.
A Fettergeist, which is an odd choice.
That's
but,
weird. It's
Okay,
weird. Big flyer, though.
I mean, people have played Sarah de Befreet before. And 2 Jeskai Sage.
Oh, man.
Woo!
There
Finally
you
did
go.
it, boys.
I
Breaking
mean,
Modern.
that's true. This card apparently good enough for modern play.
Oh man, this whole deck is pretty sweet. Like it's playing at Commandeer, which is essentially misdirection, but you have to exile 2 blue,
Yeah,
Cards?
I don't really understand that one, but
4
sure.
cryptic commands, and their 19 land deck.
How about
Yeah, we
2
got-
Psionic Blast? He's just gonna
Ooh.
blast them.
Man, that card is so sick. Man, you thought you felt bad when your opponent flipped Lightning Bolt to the Delver? Wait till they flip Psionic Blast. Oh man,
Kills Deceiver Exarch.
This deck
Got
is
my face.
this deck is interesting. Obviously, for Disrupting Shoal, which you start looking at things like the cryptic commands, like maybe they're more there for Shoal targets. But this deck does some sweet things. But man, those Jeskai Sages. Also 3 Vidalcan Shackles on the board because we're playing all these islands. We're getting these Vidalcan Shackles in here.
Got some the blue legendary lands, Minamo and Aboro.
It costs $1 million now.
Oh yeah.
Apparently,
They definitely do.
Manamo's at $20-something, and I don't know what Oboro is. Probably similar. That's 17.
Oh yeah, no big deal.
Sure.
NVD.
So,
Why not?
Yeah, I definitely think I feel like this is your kind of deck though, Dave, because like this deck just demands tight play, like to get in here. So this is Justin Miyashiro. So another, I don't know. I thought this was really spicy, and I know for a fact, looking at Twitter, I was not the only one excited to see some Jeskai Sage.
Thank you for our Twitter followers for pointing it out.
Yeah, he must be a listener. Like I'm pretty happy that you just threw those Jeskai Sages in there for us.
Oh yeah.
I got 2
appreciate
slots. What
that.
should I play?
Yeah, I
hey, the
appreciate
Master End stuff really wanted Jeskai Sage to be good.
Yeah, I didn't have the stones to do it myself when I was playing Delver, but I appreciate that he did that. So that's good.
Not a top 8, but close. Close. Very good.
So yeah, Modern Tournament was cool. We'll see what the Invitational looks like, but I just want to point those decks out.
No, fair enough. That's a good thing to point out for sure. All right, ready to move on to the 50K.
Yeah, sure.
So TCG player had their 50K over the weekend. I'm surprised. Like people obviously went to it. It's a high EV tournament. Mike and I have been to. Dave has been to one, but I know Mike and I have been to a couple of them.
Wasn't driving to Wisconsin though.
No, it was
though.
it was definitely a way away. But these are typically like criminally under attended due to the points you have to get in. Not saying that you can't just show up there and literally buy entry. It's typically like 20 points to get in general. So, but it's their big end of the year tournament. They usually have it around around this time of year. Dave,
I will point out I not only played in one, I top 16 one of these bad boys.
Yeah, that's important.
You might forget, Mike. I know I beat you really bad in that tournament, but you probably wanted to forget that one. But
I
didn't forget.
don't even care.
Hey, these days I got to take what I can get.
That's a
'cause
tournament,
you beat me all
where I
the time.
played the worst Modern deck I've ever played and got destroyed by Josh McClain too. I literally
Well, he destroyed everybody.
I went X and 1 with Standard playing Big Boros in that tournament and played the Tarmogoyf Fliss Abzan per David Ochoa. And literally had 2 wins in Modern. Still got $200 because only like 6 players showed up to that tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the one, like, if you day 2'd, you automatically got $200.
I don't know if you know, same thing for this one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There were only a little over 200 players, anyways. Like it was just free money. I'm sorry, I did step away from it. Did you mention congrats to Elliot?
No, we haven't gone that far.
Congrats
yet.
to Elliot Mork, who did sad breakers, hit 33rd instead of 32nd, but definitely did cash.
Riley Curran special.
But he was X1 going into day 2.
Yeah.
As was Bob Colt.
Yeah.
So and he topped 32'd. So apparently he lost back to back
wins. Yeah, I saw that on the Facebooks. So
I saw it on the Facebook.
That's rough.
So, but congrats to both of our friends. Elliot has been itching for a shout out, so you earned it finally.
And that is not E.T. in the background saying Elliot. That is my wife.
Wow.
I didn't even think of that. That's great. Anyway, but also congratulations to Adam Yurchik, who won the whole darn thing.
Not only did he win the whole thing, won the whole thing with one of the sweetest pictures ever taken for someone who's winning. Go look up like Mr. Photoshop and go see the awesome Siberian take on this picture.
It apparently was very cold.
Yeah, he had the dead eyes, but Adam, he did. I mean, he's like I'm gonna kill his opponent that way. But Adam, if you've never met the guy, is one of the friendliest players you'll ever meet. Remembers everybody he comes across, and is a really good Magic player. He had some bad luck a couple years ago when he was sort of on the train for the Pro Tour, and he broke his leg really badly and couldn't get around for tournaments and sort of fell off the train. But it's good to see him come up and get this is a pretty impressive win, and the guy is, a heck of a player, heck of a tuner. So I'm glad to see him do well. Good job, man.
Also, shout out to Josh McClain, who also top 8'd.
Yep.
Friend of the show.
His top 8 match was really he was real behind, and he was playing that rally deck in the mirror, and he tried hard. His opponent was drawing pretty well, but I felt I don't think anybody else could have played that game as tight as he did and tried to come back from the position he was in. So upset that he lost, but also a good run for Josh.
Yeah, for sure.
But also other notables in the top 16, like Ali Andrazi coming in 16, Joe Bernal, Matt Hoey, Andrew Backstrom.
Backstrom, yeah.
GP winner Aaron Lewis.
Yep.
Won GP Vegas.
Why does Trevor Petrelli sounds familiar too?
Yeah, I feel like he's a grinder of some persuasion.
That's what happens when you have 200 players showing up for this.
The cream rises to the top.
Yeah, and it was a lot of grinders here. So deck wise though, nothing super exciting coming out.
All right, so I didn't watch a ton of coverage. You may have watched a little bit more than I did, but I definitely noticed. I definitely noticed there were a decent amount of Mardu decks, more than I've used to seeing. I know.
Hashtag Mardu guy.
Yeah, yeah. What's his? I can't think of his name now.
Who's
playing it?
Wesley C did top 8 with it.
Wesley C did top 8 with it, and I can't think of his name. World champ. Why can't I think of his name?
Not Shaheen. I'm sorry.
I don't think Shaheen Sarani would be caught dead playing Mardu.
Yeah, no.
Wow, we're really bad at this, aren't we?
I don't know.
I've
hit a wall. It's 11 o'clock.
World champion this year? Or
yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Wow. We're good at this, guys.
Seth Manfield?
Yes, Seth
There we
Manfield.
go.
Yay!
We did it.
Who beat Owen Turnwald? Because I remember it was Owen Turnwald.
I'm sorry for all of our listeners that were literally yelling at their listening devices.
Seth
Hey,
Manfield!
it's okay. You can edit that out too.
Nope, staying in.
It's GD Seth Manfield!
So yeah,
he was spitting in their car.
Yeah.
he was playing a Mardu Brew. We saw Sam Black was playing the Black White Warriors deck, similar to what we saw in the Kobe top 8 a couple weeks ago. So that was interesting. So the metagame for this tournament was definitely different than what we saw at Star City. At least, even looking at the top. I mean, you still have, it was won by Abzan. With Adam Yurchik was playing Abzan aggro. You still see there were 3 rally decks in the top 8 as well. So you see a little bit more of that here, a couple of Tarkarets, but definitely some blue-green ramps, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and specifically, I thought Ali Andrazi's was really interesting because he did innovate. He's been the one who's been tuning this deck. Take a look at his list for a second. What's missing?
Oh, he added some Rattleclaw Mystics.
What did he take out?
Ulamog.
Yeah, there's no Ulamogs in his list.
What?
Yeah, he is purely an Ugin slash White or slash part of the Waterville deck, playing like Winds of Quasima in the main. But he said he got like a infinite obliterated multiple times naming Ulamog.
Oops.
And
I was
going
gonna
to
say
none.
I was gonna say, yeah, that makes sense.
So I thought that was pretty sweet tech. Like, just decided to go a different way with it, and just like got rewarded by people like being like, "Oh, well, yeah, Ulamog," and just like, "Sure, go for it."
I definitely when I played against him, I infinite obliterated him. And game 2, saw that he only had 2 Ulamogs in his deck, and then I just boarded him back out. I boarded him out for game 3. I'm like, if it's only 2 Ulamogs, I can deal with the one, and he probably won't draw the other one, so it's fine.
So, yeah, unfortunately, the coverage for this event, I kept trying to go do it. I mean, like, maybe it's unfair to expect it to be up to Star City, but when it's your premier, like, this is your players championship, essentially, your invitational, and, like, the coverage was not good.
Yeah,
and,
but I mean, for that event, it's always been poor.
But even more so, the commentary, like, Kenji was great.
Yeah.
Somebody had mentioned to me that Frank Lepore was a little bit rusty, really hasn't been doing this for a little while. But, man, I don't know. You mentioned, like, distinct favoritism.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. I will say, like, on one hand, it is unfair to expect them to be good as the Star City guys. I mean, they do it every single week. You know what I mean? Like, at this point,
Isn't that unfair though? Like, it's their premier event.
But yeah, I was gonna say. On the other hand, I feel like if Cedric was doing commentary for this, and even if he didn't do it every week, probably would have practiced. Like you mentioned him being rusty. Like I could see Cedric just watching matches and then just like practicing.
And to be fair, Frank releases videos every week with him doing his own comment. I think the real issue for me was like a consistent lack of focus on what's actually going on at the game. Like we on this cast have a tendency to go off on tangents for a little while and riff, and like I feel like we can get away with it a little more.
Isn't that the point?
Because like,
pretty sure it's the point.
Because we're not covering somebody, but like he felt like he was riffing a lot. Like when there's people playing a match, and I'm like, there's a game happening, right? Like it was almost like watching. It was like watching a thing and then like listening to the radio of something else. It was just like
that seems weird.
Like I'm listening to this football game while watching this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's like the commentators when you're watching like baseball. Be like, yeah, well, I went to the supermarket today and then they were out of eggs.
Tangent. They do that, and it's the most frustrating thing in the world. Baseball announcers on the radio are the worst ever because they'll interview people and it would have been like you definitely know that something has happened on the field.
You can hear like the bat and the ball,
and they're like talking like so. How's your wife? I haven't seen her in a long time, and it's like who's out. Okay, and that's what this felt like. This is literally what it felt like. I felt really bad in the top 8. There was I was trying to watch the top 8. You had Craig Wesco in the booth with him, which obviously Wesco's not someone who does a lot of commentary, and you could tell that like he wasn't the most confident, but the guy knows the game, and like he's trying to talk about the game, and like Frank is just off doing, and he was just kind of like, yeah, well, this is what's happening, and he was like really soft spoken, and I'm just like, this is miserable, like. I'm interested in this. Josh McClain's on camera. I want to see this. Yeah. You are ruining this for me.
Yeah, that's awkward. You really want, I guess Lepore was supposed to be what the flavor,
I guess.
Commentator, and Wesco was supposed to be the technical guy, and it's kind of awkward that he wasn't getting. It doesn't sound like Lepore was doing a very good job of supporting his co-host.
It's like if you're a Browns fan in the preseason, they used to have Bernie Kosar on there. There's a reason they got rid of that guy. Because he sounded like this, and he would just talk about random things. Like when I was playing, I used to do this. That guy's a jerk. I don't even know. It's just like, can we just talk about the game? And like, no, I think we should talk. Back when I was playing for the Browns in 1988.
That's rough. But I mean, like, I mean, like,
Sanders, Bernie Kosar.
Wrong Bernie.
Oh man, can we just convince all the people in Cleveland that Bernie Sanders actually just is Bernie Kosar? Just infinite votes.
Wow, he really aged. Like
infinite votes. Just like Bernie. Isn't that the guy that used to be good for the Browns? Yeah, that's the guy.
So many touchdowns.
But again, like, I don't know. I wasn't really expecting any sort of like groundbreaking coverage innovations coming from the TCG Player tournament. It doesn't really. It's never been a tournament for that for positive coverage at all.
Well, yeah, for coverage.
Yeah,
I felt like deck wise. I mean, I think there's reason to kind of bust out the sweet tech, right? 'Cause there's a lot of lot of money involved.
Oh, there's a ton of money.
So.
No, and again, you had good players playing. I don't want to devalue the tournament at all. Like, small tournament doesn't matter. You had a ton of grinders there playing good Magic, but I feel like that just isn't reflected by the coverage, and it's a wasted opportunity. And as I mentioned before, there might be an opportunity for another tournament organizer to come in and like gain some space. And if you're going to put on productions like this, it's never going to happen.
Oh no, not at all. You to compete, to even compete with GP coverage, like you still have to produce a somewhat polished product, and the TCG player, it just has not been that. It's never been that, in my opinion. So,
absolutely.
But that's really all we need to say about the 50K. I think it's time to move on to the question of the week. So we already discussed that Stoneforge Mystic is going to be the GP promo. Now that's really awkward, as while there are more legacy GPs this time around in 2016.
Yeah, but like 3 of them are on the same weekend.
Whatever. Technically more. Legacy is the only GP format that this card is legal in at this point in time. And it's really awkward to get this as a GP promo when its legality is sort of, not very high. So we wanted to kind of ask the question that a lot of people have been asking. Does this hint or, imply that Stoneforge Mystic could see an unbanning in Modern?
Well, I guess I'll start here. I'm firmly in the yes, I think it does category, and I want to give some explanation for why. One, I think giving a promo that is going to help impact the most players, right, at a GP makes a lot of sense to me. And granted, you could argue that Grizzlebrand wasn't that because it's not that popular in Modern. I think that was part of the run of let's reprint cards from Innistrad block that aren't going to get reprinted otherwise. But before that, Batterskull was a pretty expensive, one of that you managed to bring down to a reasonable price. Goblin Guy, you added, in hindsight, knowing they weren't reprinting it anytime soon, you added a ton more copies to the population, which is probably why that card isn't a $50 card right now. Okay, the GP promo was close, but I'm saying the original. So I do think they are pushing cards for Modern. It is an odd card to put when Legacy as a format has been slowly shutting down on all fronts. You know what I mean? There's more Legacy GPs, but again, 3 of them are on the same day.
Right.
And Star City, they obviously may not take Star City into account, but they, in the last year, reducing Legacy even more. So it seems odd to pick a card for that. Now, someone on Twitter mentioned EDH, as a staple. You might be right. It is an EDH staple, but there's no reason for Wizards to consider printing a promo with EDH implications that is given out at Premier Tournament play.
Yeah, if they wanted to do that, then they had a perfect opportunity in the Commander 2014 decks.
Absolutely.
Where they had Stoneforge Mystic kind of being the commander of that.
Yeah,
deck.
absolutely.
But it's a little weird, sort of breaking it out like that. But whatever. They could have put a new art on it, and then who cares?
I think Noir, just like Stoneforge Mystic Noir.
Yeah,
came into my plane looking for a sword. Anyways,
anyway,
but so that alone makes the printing awkward to me. But if you look at the format, JIT is banned. It's never getting unbanned. So it can't go find the thing that's most broken that it can find in Legacy. Batterskull is a card that, yes, it cheats mana-wise. And arguably, people have suggested unbanning Stoneforge before with the stipulation of also banning Batterskull. But if you notice, Batterskull is non-existent in the format anymore. Colligan's Command has driven that card out of the format. It is unplayed. Now, you would argue it becomes immediately playable if you get to cheat it out. But there is enough interaction that you can destroy an artifact. Not to mention, some of the most common creatures in the format are 4/5s. Which makes a 4/4 a lot less impressive in the first place. Additionally, the swords are good, but the swords have Abrupt Decay already to deal with, which is another common piece. And removal is excellent in the format. It was not excellent when that card was disgusting in Standard. You know what I mean? One of the things why is Esper Stoneblade not the best deck in Modern, right? Because you have Swords of Plowshares and things that aren't commonly protected from swords anyway, so it doesn't matter as much. And again, you even have JIT there. So I feel like this card is actually in a place in the format where it can legitimately come in, be powerful, possibly create a new archetype, but not break the format. Which I think the format needs. It needs that kind of shakeup.
Yeah.
So we've discussed this before with cards like Stoneforge Mystic or really anything that tutors. It's it's a dangerous card to allow into the format. Now, I do agree that this and Batterskull right now wouldn't even be that broken in Modern. Kolaghan's Command does a really good job of keeping really both sides of it in check. However, letting a card like Stoneforge Mystic into the format it makes it so that basically any equipment that they print, they need to be very careful with. Now, I don't think they're ever going to make anything as busted as Batterskull to be able to get, with this. So we're probably okay. But just the fact that, it kind of it makes it so that they have to be careful with that. I don't know if it's a card that they want to allow, but I think it's totally reasonable given how the format looks right now.
I think to that point, what equipment sees play in Modern currently?
That isn't like, a sideboard card. Like, swords will see play from time to time.
Sometimes you'll see like one or two in the main, right? But in general, with the exception of like Batterskull and a sword here or there, what equipment ever sees play? Mm-hmm. Like, I think I've had a lightning
cranial plating.
Okay, sure. And don't get me wrong, that was his legacy deck for a little while. Was Affinity with Stoneforge Mystic, so maybe that is something to worry about. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Affinity gets a bonus for playing white as opposed to any of the other colors it currently wants to splash. But maybe that's the nail in the coffin for it. I don't think so though.
Yeah, I do think it would give white kind of a new angle for Modern, because right now white is pretty much just a support color. I mean, you can play decks like, green, white, hate bears, which are a majority white, and then
Death and Taxes.
Death and Taxes, same style.
Right. And
then you have like black, white tokens, which is solid tier 2 deck.
Mm-hmm.
It's played, but that's not great.
Right.
So this kind of gives it a new angle, and it also could be something that could be utilized in control decks, I think, to good effect. So I don't know. I've kind of gone back and forth. Like, it is a card that can warp a format. However, I think where Modern is right now, it's not too dangerous. But again, it's a card that they're always going to have to kind of keep an eye on. But maybe I'm just being overly cautious with it. Like, a lot of people thought like Scape Shift would be busted when they unbanned that, and it hasn't been.
No, it's been fine, and I think what you mentioned about white is really important. Is it like it is Death and Taxes and like I guess like Hate Bears aside, and even those decks are, I mean,
they're mediocre.
Yeah, they make an appearance every now and then, but maybe they become an actual deck when they have access to Stoneforge Mystic, and maybe that's something the format needs. Again, as another pillar in those decks, something, because as we've seen recently, like you could say that the format isn't terrible, it isn't, but the format definitely is combo and aggro right now. Like, that is what it is, and Stoneforge Mystic definitely pushes like either a control strategy or another strategy that isn't quite as aggressive immediately into we're doing something just as powerful as you are. Mm-hmm. You mean, and that's, I think that's important. I think you need that for health of the format.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I want to be the guy that's like, yeah, they could probably unban it and be fine, but I don't think they will. Like, just because it's Wizard. And I always feel like they always like, it's always like a really tricky like illusion where they're like moving our attention over to one thing just to do another thing. So it's like, it's always some big like sleight of hand mirror trick with Wizards, and I think this is just like another mirror trick. But we'll see.
It would be really awkward if they just the banned and restricted list comes out and it's just like, oh yeah, we never even thought about that.
Yeah, no changes.
We thought you guys just wanted a cool, legacy.
Yeah, we just thought this card was kind of expensive, so we thought, why not?
I mean, it is possible. I will say the one thing that's nice though too is because of the way they're doing rotations, like another ban could happen very quickly. So if like you have 3 months of like Stoneforge Mystic being way too good, then in April Innistrad comes in and see you later, Stoneforge Mystic. So I don't know. I'm going to rate myself on 1 to 5. 5 being yes, it is definitively getting unbanned. 1 is heck no. I'm at a 4 currently.
What about you, Dave?
I'll go with 3. I'm kind of in the middle. Like I can see it going either way.
I was going to say 2.5 because that's literally right in the middle. So 2.5 for me.
So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, isn't 3
is 0 an option?
What?
Never mind. Anyway.
Yeah. But I think it'll be exciting to see. I think because like before the Modern Pro Tour is the only time that we ever see changes in Modern. So this is like the time where a lot of conversations happen about it. There was an article I think on Star City Games today
Sean
or yesterday,
McLaren,
talking about like what could be banned, what could be unbanned, and
I thought his article was really good.
Oh, so did I. Very much so. Even though he had Splitter Twin on there for a split second, but he's like, this isn't going to get banned. Which I
think he called banning of Summer Bloom unbanning of Stoneforge Mystic. So.
I believe that was the case, and I would be a-okay with those changes.
Yeah, I think that'd be good for the format. So.
But yeah, so there's going to be a lot of these discussions that happen. I'm sure that we'll probably talk about it, maybe when we come back after the break, if any new developments have happened since then. But it's kind of sad that they kind of, this is the only time they kind of do this. And I wish they would just do it more.
I mean, it does build Pro Tour hype.
For sure. And the nice thing about it is like, hey, we're going to unban this, but we're putting all these promos, so hopefully there won't be a huge spike, which is the only thing that they have to avoid. I think that will be interesting to see what comes of it in January. But I believe that is the last thing we want to talk about on today's show. Of course, we do want to talk about what's happening over the weekend. We have the Invitational, which is going to be held by Star City Games in Las Vegas, and it's standard and modern as the two formats, if I'm not mistaken. And so that'll be fun. Starts on Friday. I love it when tournaments start on Friday. Oh, man. And we also have the bigger tournament over the weekend, I feel, which is the World Magic Cup. This tournament also starts on Friday?
It does.
Yeah. It starts on Friday at 4 a.m. Eastern time. No. So if you're in the Eastern time zone,
I'm not going to watch
set your alarm clock.
Katie, I'm calling off Friday, so I watch Magic coverage. Is that okay with you?
The silence is overwhelming.
You just got the look.
I'm getting the Adam Yurchik guys.
So that'll also be exciting. So you can watch like the tail end of the World Magic Cup in the morning if you're in the Eastern time zone, and then immediately bleed into the start of the Invitational. Yeah. Probably not. Probably won't be that exact, but maybe. But we can dream.
The good thing is, if you're interested in watching Constructed and you don't really care for limited Magic, Team Sealed is the first format. So if you don't really care for that, that's kind of like the first thing that's going to happen. And I believe it's, I want to say 3 rounds. Yeah, 3 rounds. So you could get up at a decent time in the morning and catch like the unified standard portion.
Which is a sweet format. I really wish they would. I really wish we get some Team GPs that were unified format, like unified constructed, not just limited. I would love that.
Yeah, and for those that don't know what unified standard means, it's basically all 3 players need to construct decks, but they are restricted to only 4 copies. Of
a card,
of a specific card,
across all the decks, not just in a deck.
So, interesting thing with that is fetch lands. Fetch lands are going to be super difficult to diversify.
To see what they do.
Yeah,
I mean, it's awkward because none of these decks make a difference. Like, they don't tend to affect the format at large because most of them are given concessions to other decks. So, but the mana base is going to be so rough. I'm excited for it. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, unified standard is always, or really any unified format, but we see mostly standard, and we've seen this at the World Magic Cup before. It's funny because a lot of teams will kind of come to the same conclusions about like what decks they want to play, but then there's always like a random team that just has like 3 wacky decks that you just never seen come in, and then it's just like, whoa, like they just they attack from a totally different angle, and it's those matchups are what makes it great. So.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and so it is a very fantastic weekend for some high level Magic play. So if you have a chance to watch coverage, this is the weekend to do it.
Yeah, what do you guys think of Team USA's chances? We got Mike Segrist, Tom Martell, Neil Oliver, and I forget the other guy's name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that other guy.
The last person on the illustrious U.S. Magic team. I mean, like, those are some pretty medium names. Like,
wow. The Daggers. Those are some pretty average guys.
Like, so they're obviously like in the pantheon of Magic pros. Let's be fair. Like, they land somewhere in the middle. Like, that's not. I'm not trying to be disingenuous to them.
You're not wrong. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, you might. Segrist is applying to pro.
Player of the year, GP. winner, Pro Tour winner.
To be fair,
Another
Martell's
guy.
Pro Tour win was many moons ago at
Yeah.
this point. He's still a fine player and did well, obviously limited this year. I don't think this team is bad by
I don't
any
think it's
stretch.
bad.
I
I
think
just said that they like the names themselves are
Maybe
in the middle of
maybe
the
that's
pros.
better. Maybe that's better because when we had like the Kibler LSV team a few years ago, there was some hubris there. You know what I mean? Of just like how good is this team? Maybe that's where we're at here. This is a good team. I think it's solid. Maybe old no name in fourth who we're being really disingenuous to.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll bring the whole team together.
I hope so.
USA, USA.
This is Neil Oliver's second
Tour.
World Magic Cup in a row. Yeah,
Second tour.
So
Yeah.
he's kind
It's
of
the military.
Yeah.
yeah, it's second tour duty. So he might have some important insight, for the other guys
Yeah,
on the team.
for sure.
I've seen some stuff, man.
I think the team's good. No, for sure. And I like. It's really hard to like judge a team in a vacuum comparatively to without like comparing all the other teams to them.
Yeah,
Any
first,
team in a vacuum would be dead. There's no oxygen.
Thank you. I think Canada has some pretty notable grinders in pros on it. I believe.
They have Sean McLaren and
Yeah.
Alexander Hayne.
Yeah.
I think Japan is probably the favorite if you're just
I
looking
believe
at
so.
names.
I believe so.
I want to.
I think it's, most of the things I've seen, like my ranking of like the more Magic Cup, it's like Japan and then like a bunch of like dots down and then everyone else.
Yeah, I want to pull up. Man, I didn't link it in the show notes. My bad.
Fail.
But yeah, they definitely have Yu Watanabe
On here, Yu Watanabe,
and Kenji Sumura.
Kenji Sumura, Soyo Yu, and Ryoichi Tamada.
Okay, yeah. Those are names.
Casual,
Yeah.
The other one I do want to mention is Denmark has also gotten it, which definitely has Martin Dang and Martin Mueller,
Whoa.
as well as Daniel Lin and Chris Larson. So,
Whoa.
but that's those are some two pretty strong names right now as well.
I wouldn't sleep on the Czech Republic either. They have Andrei Strosky, who's been pretty good over the last couple of years, and Lucas Blahan
yeah.
is really good.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like a lot of the teams have like at least two like named players, if not more, in the top, which is I think by design a lot of the time.
Joel
Yeah,
Sadowski.
Joel, I was going to say, Joel, I'm very sorry. I hope you pull in some clutch wins for the United States, and you can just rub it right in our face, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Sorry for not remembering your name.
It'll be interesting to see. I'm pretty excited. I hope I get to watch some coverage. It's kind of interesting. This is the first time that it's not a combined event with the
with the World Championships.
the World Championship. Yeah, it's the first time they've broken it apart. So I hope that a lot of people are still super interested in it, as they should be. I think like this is a really exciting tournament, and I think that a lot of people maybe don't put a lot of like clout into this anymore, but I think it's a really illustrious thing to kind of have if you get it, and I hope that the U.S. can bring it home for sure.
Yeah, I love this tournament. It's definitely just the most unique tournament of the year.
Yeah.
Just the way it's structured as well. If you're not familiar, it's the World Magic Cups. If you're familiar with how the World Cup, in soccer works,
Right.
Where they have the pods.
Yeah, you have groups.
You play all the teams in your group and then you move on. So it's just an interesting format.
What are you doing with your mic?
Just
You're stand-up
free-forming
comedian
here.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's the deal with the World Magic Cup?
It's with this crazy format.
What's
there
with
were-
these groups?
There definitely some people in social media that were kind of disparaging the format of it. It's like, why isn't it just Swiss? It's like, wouldn't that make more sense? Like, no, it wouldn't. It's the World Magic Cup.
Yeah, and I feel like with a lot of, with soccer being bigger, more the European scene, I think a lot of the European countries and teams get this a lot more than what we do because we're not as exposed to it.
Well, I believe it was PV he was the one. It's like he's from Brazil, so I mean they're all about soccer down there. But
One would think, yeah. I heard they have a pretty good national soccer team a lot of the time.
They're okay. So I heard.
That seems weird for him to be so disparaging against it.
Is it really weird for him to be disparaging?
I guess not. No, I suppose not. I think it's interesting. I think it's something that is a little bit different, and I think Magic needs different things to keep it interesting. I feel it feels like a Swiss tournament.
It's
would be
a really
boring.
unique event. I don't know why you'd be upset about it.
Yeah.
Other than just to be upset about it.
Sure.
Yeah. And then going back to the Star City Invitational, I'm definitely. We talked about this a little bit before the cast and kind of going over like who's in the player championship for Star City. We'll know all the rest of the names after this weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll talk players championship next week.
Right. And definitely, last year, I believe Dylan Donegan won the season 4 Invitational. So he was, he kind of got in there at the last minute. And there was definitely like a lot of excitement near the end of that tournament of like, was it Logan Mize? Was he the one that got in because Dylan Donegan won or something like that?
Yeah,
like he needed him to win. Like it was just, there was a lot of drama kind of near the end of like, who's going to get in or not. So I'm definitely interested to see, who ends up getting.
Right. And I know this race is pretty tight as it stands. So it'll be interesting who clinches those last places in the actual championship.
Yeah.
Plus we're on the verge of getting a new invitational token. Hopefully it's something cool.
Eldrazi Spawn, right?
Yeah, Scion. Nah, I mean, I guess. The germ token, though, that Bistecki made was awesome. Very inspired.
Got a foil one for the battle box. Really excited.
Very inspired. So congrats to him. Your token has served many well. I'm glad I own a few.
And maybe it will serve a bunch of people well in Modern soon.
Who knows? Ooh. Maybe that was like the sick pick right there. Like, he just knew it. He's like, I think that these germ tokens, they're going to get a lot more play coming soon.
So hot take, finance, right? Yeah, sure. Get your Stoneforge Mystics. Stoneforge Mystics gets unbanned. Promo Squadron Hawks. Get them now.
Interesting called shot.
Back.
Interesting called shot.
Stoneforges right now are around a little over $20. I don't see him being less than that. So.
That's true for sure. But yeah, so that's everything this week. Be sure to if you have any questions or comments, you can just find us on Twitter. We are at YourEndstep, so at symbol YourEndstep. We also have a Gmail email address. We're at YourEndstep@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook. You can just search for at YourEndstep. We show up. Also search for our lovely sponsor Comic Town by searching for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Please get in contact with us. We really do appreciate, like, our listeners have been a lot more vocal on Twitter, and it's been awesome to see. So keep it up. We enjoy it. I
was just thinking when you said search for us on Facebook, we show up. Like, I was thinking, like, we show up to your door. Like, you search for it's like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Like, we just
we don't do that.
Show up to your door.
Please do not fear us showing up randomly at your home. We don't do that. But we show up on your computer screen under at your end stuff.
It's like a hologram.
We Tupac hologram
Tupac is
into your home. We straight up Princess Leia R2D2 hologram into your home, ask you for assistance.
Speaking of that, we know what we're doing this weekend?
We are having a Star Wars party over the weekend.
Oh, yeah. We're gonna marathon 5 of them.
5 of them. You don't watch one. We're doing the machete order. If you haven't heard of it, it's 4, 5, 2, 3, 6.
That's it.
Machete order?
Yes. It's the website is.
It's where they're from. Yeah.
All right. I was that's
it's pretty.
Really weird.
It's pretty cool. We've got at least 2 people who are going to be watching who've never watched it. So we'll see how the machete order works for them. So I'm pretty excited.
I'm really excited because my daughter's going to be watching. I'm bringing her over. Yeah, she's 6 and she's never seen Star Wars before.
I've been texting back and forth with Morgan's fiance, trying to get cool ideas for Star Wars themed food, and there have been some cool ones.
Oh, for sure. We're all very excited. We're all very hyped for the new Star Wars because we're all just a bunch of nerds. Come on, let's be fair. It's going to be pretty exciting. A non-magic weekend. Well, the weekend might be magical.
We might cube while we're watching.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we were already discussing that.
What do you mean we might cube? I mean, come on. It's already shuffled up, Mike. I'm bringing it. It's going to happen.
Well, that'll be everything for us this week. We'll catch you guys next time, and you have a great one. Bye.